Let me ask you something real tonight. How many times did life try to break you, but you're still standing? You didn't survive because life was easy. You didn't make it because people were kind. You are here because God placed something unbreakable inside you. Some of you walked in tired. Some of you walked in wounded. Some of you smiled on the outside while fighting silent battles on the inside. But hear me clearly. If God brought you through it, He's not finished with you. Resilience is not just strength. Resilience is divine fire wrapped in human skin. It's the ability God planted in you to bend without breaking, to fall without quitting, to cry without surrendering. The same God who formed mountains formed your spirit. The same God who controls storms also lives in your breath. And tonight, I didn't come to motivate you for a moment. I came to awaken what God already put inside you. This is not about what happened to you. This is about what rose up in you. This is the power of resilience in you. You didn't choose the storm, but God chose you to survive it, and that truth alone should change how you see yourself. Think about it for a moment. Nobody wakes up in the morning asking for disappointment, betrayal, failure, or loss. No one plans sleepless nights, silent tears, or prayers whispered with shaking hands. And yet, life happens. People walk away, doors close, dreams collapse, plans fail. But somehow, you're still here. That is not coincidence. That is evidence. God built you with the ability to survive what you didn't choose. Look at your own life. There were moments you were sure would end you. The day you thought, I can't take one more thing. The moment you sat alone, staring at the ceiling, wondering how you'd face tomorrow. The season when everything felt heavy and even breathing felt like effort, yet you woke up the next day. You showed up. You kept moving even if you were moving slowly. That quiet strength was not learned in books or taught by people. That strength was placed inside you by God before the struggle ever arrived. Daily life proves this over and over again. A mother who never planned to be strong suddenly becomes unbreakable for her children. A student who failed an exam they prepared months for still stands back up and tries again. A worker who lost their job wakes up the next morning with fear in their chest but hope in their spirit. None of them asked for that challenge, but resilience rose up anyway. Why? Because God designs people with an inner reserve, strength that only reveals itself under pressure. Here's the powerful part. You don't discover resilience in comfort. You discover it when comfort is removed, when plans fall apart, when people disappoint you, when life forces you to adapt. God didn't wait until you were strong to give you challenges. He gave you challenges so you could see the strength He already put inside you. That's why the hardest seasons often reveal the strongest versions of us. Think of how many times you surprised yourself. Times you thought you would quit, but you didn't. Times you thought you would break, but you bent instead. Times you thought you would give up, but something inside whispered, keep going. That whisper wasn't noise. It was divine design. God equipped you with resilience, not as a backup plan, but as a built-in feature of your spirit. Everyday life doesn't celebrate this kind of strength. The world claps for loud victories, but ignores silent endurance. But God sees the nights you held yourself together. God sees the days you smiled while hurting. God sees the battles you won that nobody applauded. Resilience is not flashy. It doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like simply getting out of bed. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace instead of anger. Sometimes it looks like continuing to believe when nothing around you supports that belief. And here's the truth many people miss. Resilience doesn't mean you weren't affected. It means you weren't defeated. You felt the pain. You felt the loss. You felt the disappointment. But it didn't cancel your purpose. God never promised a life without struggle, but He promised the strength to endure it. That strength lives in you. When life pushes you into situations you never applied for, resilience becomes your survival language. You learn to adjust, to adapt, to keep faith alive even when answers are delayed. This isn't accidental growth, it's intentional design. God knew you would face things you didn't choose, so He made sure you had what it takes to outlast them. So stop seeing your survival as luck. Stop calling it coincidence. Stop minimizing what you've come through. The fact that you are still standing is proof that God trusted you with that storm. He trusted your spirit. He trusted your endurance. He trusted the resilience he placed within you. You didn't choose the battle, but God chose you because you were built to survive it. And if you survived that, then understand this clearly. Whatever is ahead of you will not overpower what God has already placed inside you. Pressure has a way of making people question themselves. When life tightens its grip, the first thought that often enters the mind is, what did I do wrong? But hear this clearly, pressure is not God punishing you. Pressure is God preparing you. There is a difference. Punishment weakens, but preparation strengthens. And if you are under pressure right now, it is not because you are rejected. It is because you are being shaped for something greater. Look at everyday life. Think of a student sitting in an exam hall, heart racing, palms sweating, mind full of fear. The pressure feels unbearable, but that pressure didn't appear to destroy them. It appeared to reveal what they had been preparing for all along. Without that moment, the growth would never be measured. In the same way, God allows moments of pressure not to break your spirit, but to expose your capacity. Pressure shows you what you are capable of handling. Consider how people grow in real life. Muscles don't grow by being comfortable. They grow by being stressed, stretched, and challenged. At first, the weight feels too heavy. The body shakes. The mind says, stop. But if the person stays consistent, strength increases. Life works the same way. God allows weight on your shoulders not to collapse you, to build endurance. The heaviness you feel is not meant to crush you. It is meant to condition you. Many people misunderstand pressure because it doesn't feel good. It creates anxiety, fear, uncertainty, and discomfort. But preparation often feels uncomfortable. A job that pushes you beyond your comfort zone. Responsibilities that feel bigger than your ability. Expectations that feel overwhelming. These are not signs that you are failing. These are signs that God sees more in you than you currently see in yourself. Daily life is full of examples. A person promoted into a role they feel unqualified for often experiences pressure first, confidence later. A parent suddenly responsible for a family feels fear before they feel strength. Someone moving to a new place feels lost before they feel settled. Pressure always comes before mastery. God uses pressure to stretch your mindset, discipline your character, and deepen your patience. What makes pressure powerful is not the situation, it's the response. Some people run from pressure and others rise through it. Those who rise understand something crucial. Pressure is temporary, but the growth it produces is permanent. God does not allow pressure without purpose. Every challenging season is shaping something inside you. Wisdom, discipline, courage, or resilience. Even the strongest people you admire were once uncomfortable. They didn't start confident. They became confident by surviving pressure. They didn't begin fearless. They learned courage by walking through fear. Pressure taught them how to manage stress, how to make decisions under uncertainty, and how to trust God when outcomes were unclear. Pressure also reveals priorities. When everything is easy, it's hard to know what truly matters. But when life tightens, clarity comes. You discover what is worth fighting for, who truly supports you, and what you can live without. God uses pressure to strip away distractions so you can focus on purpose. There will be days when pressure makes you tired, days when you question whether you can keep going. That does not mean the pressure is winning. It means the process is working. Growth always feels heavy before it feels natural. God never rushes preparation, because what is rushed often collapses under responsibility. If you are in a season where everything feels demanding, work, relationships, expectations, understand this pressure is a sign that your capacity is being expanded. God is stretching you because what's ahead requires more than what you were before. The version of you that emerges from this season will be stronger, wiser, and more grounded. So don't curse the pressure. Don't label it as failure. Don't assume it means you're falling behind. Pressure is God's way of shaping you for what you prayed for. What feels heavy today is building strength for tomorrow. And when the pressure lifts, you will realize it never came to break you. It came to prepare you. There comes a moment in every life when you reach a place you never imagined standing in, a place where strength feels drained, answers feel far away, and the weight of everything presses down at once. This is what people call the breaking point. But what most don't realize is that the breaking point is not where life ends. It is where God activates something deeper inside you. When you feel empty, when you feel finished, When you feel like you have nothing left to give, that is often the moment your true strength begins to speak. Think about daily life. A person working long hours, carrying family responsibilities, financial pressure, and emotional stress eventually reaches a moment where they say, I can't do this anymore. Yet the next morning, they wake up and still go. Not because everything suddenly became easy, but because something within them refused to give up. That inner push didn't come from comfort or encouragement. It came from a deeper place. God placed strength in you that only shows itself when your surface strength is gone. We often misunderstand our limits. We think our breaking point is the end of our ability, but in reality, it is the end of our self-reliance. Up until that moment, you were operating on your own strength, your own plans, your own understanding. When that runs out, God steps in, not always by changing the situation, but by strengthening your spirit to endure it. That is why some of the strongest people are those who once felt completely weak. Look at how life teaches this lesson repeatedly. When a student fails after trying their best, their confidence breaks, but their resilience awakens. When someone loses a relationship they invested everything in, their heart breaks, but their independence and wisdom begin to grow. When a person faces rejection after rejection, discouragement hits, but persistence is born. God allows breaking points not to destroy identity, but to redefine it. At your breaking point, clarity often appears. You stop pretending, you stop pleasing, you stop performing. You start being honest with yourself and with God. You recognize what truly matters and what no longer deserves your energy. The breaking point strips away illusion and leaves truth behind. That truth becomes the foundation for your next level of strength. In everyday moments, breaking points don't always look dramatic. Sometimes they look like sitting quietly, staring at nothing, feeling numb. Sometimes they look like tears that come without warning. Sometimes they look like exhaustion so deep that rest doesn't immediately fix it. But even in those moments, strength is being activated beneath the surface. God does not abandon people at their lowest. He meets them there. Many people try to avoid breaking points, but that they are unavoidable in growth. You cannot rise without being stretched. You cannot mature without being challenged. Breaking points teach you boundaries. They teach you humility. They teach you to ask for help. They teach you to trust God instead of control outcomes. The strength that comes from breaking points is not loud. It is steady, grounded, and unshakable. Notice how after a breaking point, you don't return to who you were before. You become more aware, more cautious, more intentional. You stop wasting energy on things that drain you. You protect your peace. You choose progress over perfection. That is strength refined by experience. God uses breaking points to remove weakness disguised as habit. If you are standing at a breaking point right now, understand this. It is not a sign that you are failing. It is a signal that transformation is happening. God is shifting you from surviving to becoming. What feels like the end is actually the beginning of a deeper, stronger version of you. You may feel like you have reached your limit, but God has not reached his. When your strength ends, his begins to work through you. And when you look back, you will realize that the moment you thought would destroy you was the moment that activated the greatest strength you never knew you had. Pain has a way of demanding answers. When it shows up, the first question we ask is why? Why did this happen to me? Why did this door close? Why did this person hurt me? Why did things fall apart when I was trying my best? But pain was never sent to be a life sentence. Pain is a teacher. And God does not use pain to imprison you. He uses it to instruct you. In daily life, pain rarely announces its lesson immediately. At first, it just hurts. A failure shakes your confidence. A loss empties your heart. A betrayal changes how you see people. In those moments, pain feels unfair and personal. But time reveals something powerful. You don't come out the same. You come out wiser, stronger, more aware. God never wastes pain, even when it feels meaningless. It is shaping something valuable within you. Think about a child touching a hot stove for the first time. The pain is sharp, immediate, and unforgettable. But that pain becomes knowledge. It teaches boundaries. It teaches caution. It prevents future harm. In the same way, life's pain teaches lessons comfort never could. Some lessons only arrive through experience, and some experiences only arrive through pain. Look at relationships in everyday life. Someone gives their heart fully, trusts deeply, and then gets hurt. At first, the pain feels like damage, but later it becomes discernment. They learn to set boundaries. They learn to recognize red flags. They learn the value of self-respect. The pain didn't ruin them, it refined them. God used that pain to teach wisdom that no advice could have delivered. Pain also teaches humility. When everything is going well, it's easy to believe you're in control. Pain reminds you that life is fragile and that strength doesn't come from pride. It teaches you to slow down, to listen, to reflect. It pushes you to seek God not just for blessings, but for guidance. Pain humbles without humiliating when you allow it to teach instead of harden you. In work and ambition, pain shows up as rejection, delay, or failure. A job opportunity falls through. A promotion goes to someone else. A business plan collapses. At first, the pain feels like rejection, but later it becomes redirection. Skills improve. Character develops. Patience grows. God uses professional setbacks to teach resilience, discipline, and adaptability, qualities that success alone never builds. One of the most powerful lessons pain teaches is empathy. People who have suffered understand others differently. They listen better. They judge less. They show compassion because they know what it feels like to hurt. Pain softens the heart when it is allowed to teach instead of poison. God uses pain to turn wounds into wisdom and suffering into sensitivity. Pain also teaches you what truly matters. When life hurts, distractions lose their power. Ego quiets down. Priorities shift. You realize which relationships are real, which dreams are worth pursuing, and which battles are unnecessary. Pain removes excess and leaves essence. God uses pain to simplify life so purpose becomes clear. It's important to understand this pain does not mean God has abandoned you. Often, it means he is shaping you for something deeper. Growth without pain produces shallow roots. When storms come, shallow roots fail. Pain drives roots deeper into faith, patience, and inner strength. That depth is what keeps you standing later. Daily life shows us this truth repeatedly. The people with the strongest character are often those who have endured the deepest pain. They didn't become strong because life was kind to them. They became strong because they learned from what hurt them. God used pain as a classroom, not a courtroom. Pain also teaches you how to let go. Let go of control. Let go of expectations. Let go of people who no longer align with your growth. Holding on to everything hurts more than releasing what no longer serves you. Pain teaches surrender, and surrender brings peace. If pain is part of your story right now, don't rush to escape it. Don't let it turn into bitterness. Ask what it's teaching you. Ask how it's shaping you. Ask what God is building inside you through this season. Pain only becomes destructive when its lesson is ignored. You were never meant to stay wounded forever. Pain came to inform you, not define you. When you learn from it, pain loses its power over you. And one day, you will look back and realize that the very thing that hurt you taught you how to live with more wisdom, strength, and grace. God didn't send pain to end your story. He allowed it to deepen it. There is a quiet truth many people overlook. The reason you are still standing is not because life went easy on you, but because God never stepped away from you. When everything should have knocked you down permanently, when logic said you should have quit, broken, or disappeared, you remained. Not loud, not perfect, but present. That alone is evidence that God is still involved in your story. Daily life gives us constant reminders of this. Think about the mornings you woke up with no motivation, no excitement, and no clear answers, yet something inside pushed you forward. You didn't feel strong. You didn't feel hopeful. You just kept going. That wasn't discipline alone. That was divine involvement working quietly beneath your emotions. God often works in ways that don't announce themselves. He sustains before he explains. People assume God's presence looks dramatic, miracles, sudden breakthroughs, instant relief. But more often, God shows up as endurance, as breath in your lungs, as the ability to keep trying after disappointment, as calm in moments that should have overwhelmed you. The fact that you didn't collapse under pressure is proof that God was carrying weight you couldn't see. Look at someone who has faced repeated setbacks, financial struggles, family responsibilities, emotional wounds, yet still wakes up and handles life one day at a time. From the outside, it may look ordinary, but spiritually, it's extraordinary. God doesn't always remove the struggle. Sometimes he becomes the strength within it. Survival itself becomes a sign of divine partnership. There were moments when things didn't improve, but you did. Moments when answers didn't come, but patience grew. Moments when doors stayed closed, but your character deepened. God's involvement doesn't always change circumstances immediately. It changes people internally so they can outlast circumstances. That inner stability is not self-made. It is God-sustained. Everyday life teaches this clearly. A person grieving loss doesn't suddenly stop hurting, but they learn how to live again. A person facing failure doesn't instantly succeed, but they refuse to give up. A person battling fear doesn't become fearless overnight, but they keep moving anyway. That steady forward motion is not accidental. God remains involved even when progress is slow. Many people underestimate how powerful it is just to still be here, still believing, still hoping, still trying. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can convince you that God has left you. But God never abandons his work halfway. If you are still breathing, still learning, still growing, God is still active behind the scenes. Think about how many times you were protected without realizing it. Situations that could have gone worse but didn't. Decisions you almost made but didn't. People who walked away and later you realized it saved you. God's involvement is often recognized in hindsight. What felt like delay was protection. What felt like loss was alignment. What felt like isolation was preparation. God's involvement also explains why you didn't become what hurt you. You went through bitterness, but you didn't become cruel. You faced injustice, but you didn't lose your sense of right. You experienced pain, but you didn't lose compassion. That restraint, that preservation of your spirit comes from God guarding what he placed inside you. Being still standing doesn't mean you were never shaken. It means you were never abandoned. God doesn't promise a life without storms, but he promises presence within them. And presence is powerful. Presence steadies the heart. Presence gives perspective. Presence reminds you that your life is bigger than your current chapter. Some days, God's involvement looks like strength. Other days, it looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like courage. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like endurance. Sometimes it looks like letting go. But in every form, God stays engaged with those he is shaping. If you ever doubt whether God is still working in your life, look at the evidence. Look at what you survived. Look at how you matured. Look at how your mindset changed. Look at how your values sharpened. You didn't get here alone. You were guided, protected, and sustained in ways you couldn't measure at the time. So stand confidently in this truth. You are not still here by accident. You are not still trying for no reason. You are not still dreaming without purpose. God is still involved, still invested, still shaping. And if he kept you through what tried to break you, then what lies ahead will not overpower you. The same God who held you together yesterday is still holding you today, and he is not done with you yet. What carried you through the past was never meant to stop with survival. God did not strengthen you just so you could endure pain and then remain the same. He strengthened you so you could rise, build, and move forward with purpose. The same God who held you together in your hardest seasons is the same God who will carry you into what's next. Resilience is not the end of the journey. It is the bridge to the future God is preparing you for. Look at daily life. Think about how many times you thought, if I can just get through this, I'll be okay. You weren't thinking about success or growth. You were thinking about survival. Yet once the storm passed, you realized something changed inside you. You were calmer, wiser, less shaken by things that once overwhelmed you. That is resilience doing its quiet work. God doesn't just help you survive a season. He upgrades you through it so you can handle what comes next. Consider someone who struggled financially for years. Every month was a challenge. Every expense felt heavy. But through that struggle, discipline was built, wisdom grew. Priorities became clear. When opportunity finally arrived, that person was ready, not because money appeared suddenly, but because resilience had trained them to manage responsibility. God used endurance as preparation for provision. The same happens emotionally. A person who has experienced deep disappointment learns how to guard their heart without closing it. They learn balance. They learn discernment. They learn patience. When healthier relationships come into their life, they are able to sustain them because resilience taught them maturity. God doesn't waste your emotional battles. He uses them to prepare you for healthier connections ahead. Resilience also changes how you see the future. Before hardship, fear often controls decisions. After hardship, courage grows. You realize that if you survived what once terrified you, then the future doesn't have the same power over you. God uses past victories, even painful ones, to give you confidence moving forward. You stop asking, what if it goes wrong? And start saying, even if it's hard. Daily life shows this clearly. A person who once feared failure, but failed and survived becomes bolder. They try again. They take risks. They speak up. They step forward. That boldness is not arrogance. It is resilience shaped by experience. God carries people forward by reminding them of what they've already overcome. What's powerful is that resilience doesn't erase your past, it redeems it. Your story becomes a source of strength, not shame. The things you once wanted to forget become lessons that guide you. God uses what hurt you to help you move with clarity instead of fear. You stop running from your past and start using it as proof of growth. There will still be challenges ahead. Resilience doesn't mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means difficulty no longer defines you. God doesn't promise fewer storms. He promises stronger foundations. Each time you move forward, you do so with greater stability, deeper faith, and clearer purpose. Notice how people who have endured much often walk differently. They are grounded. They don't panic easily. They don't chase validation. They don't rush decisions. That calm strength is resilience at work. God carried them through chaos so they could walk steadily in peace. Moving forward also requires trust. Trust that the same God who sustained you in confusion will guide you in clarity. Trust that what's ahead will not demand more than what God has already prepared you to handle. Growth never happens all at once. It unfolds step by step, strengthened by resilience. Sometimes moving forward means letting go of who you used to be. Old fears, old habits, old limitations. Resilience gives you permission to evolve without guilt. God is not calling you backward. He is calling you upward. The strength you gained was not accidental. It was intentional preparation. If you ever doubt whether you can handle what's ahead, look backward, not to relive pain, but to remember victory. Remember what you survived. Remember how you adapted. Remember how God carried you when you didn't think you could keep going. That same strength will meet you again. The future is not waiting for a perfect version of you. It is waiting for a resilient one, someone who has been tested, shaped, refined, and strengthened. God doesn't build futures on comfort. He builds them on resilience. So step forward with confidence, not because you know everything, but because God has already proven his faithfulness in your life. What carried you through will carry you forward. And what lies ahead will not overpower what God has already placed within you.